Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, we will talk about a question that's become a real flashpoint in our economy and our society. Today, I will explain the complex debate around whether billionaires should exist.
Okay, so let's dive right in. To really get to the heart of this, we can't just jump to conclusions. We need a bit of a roadmap. First up, we're going to try to get our heads around just how massive a billion really is, because honestly, the scale changes everything. Then we'll look at the case for billionaires, the arguments that say they're actually a good thing. After that, we'll flip the script and explore the powerful case against them, which is all about morality and whether the system is broken. We'll also dig into some of the proposed fixes, like taxes and charity, and find out why they're not so simple. And finally, we'll tie it all together and get to the fundamental question at the core of this whole thing. All right, before we can even start debating, we have to start right here. Because if we don't truly grasp the scale of the wealth we're talking about, none of the other arguments are really going to land. A billion isn't just a big number. It's a number so huge that it completely breaks our normal human intuition.
So, let's just think about this for a second. We hear millionaire and billionaire all the time, right? They can almost start to sound like they're in the same ballpark. But the gap between them? Well, it isn't just big, it's mind-bogglingly enormous.
Okay, I love this analogy from the YouTube channel Stefan Den because it just makes it all click. Think of $1 million as time. It's like a 12-day vacation. You can probably remember what you were doing 12 days ago, right? It's a period of time you can actually feel and understand. Now, $1 billion, that's like taking a 30-year vacation. Think about that. That's not a vacation. That's a massive chunk of your life. For many of us, that's more than half our lives. We're talking about two completely different realities. And you know, this isn't just a few people here and there. The number is growing. Right now, there are about 2,755 billionaires on the entire planet. And to put that in perspective, you could literally fit every single one of them into a big high school auditorium. A tiny, tiny group of people holds this almost unimaginable amount of wealth.
And if we zoom in on the US, this chart just makes it so stark. Look at that first bar. That's the 745 billionaires in the country. Their combined wealth, $5 trillion. Now, look at the second bar. That represents the bottom half of the entire US population. We're talking 167 million people. And their total combined wealth is just $3 trillion. Just let that sink in. Fewer than 800 people have almost double the wealth of 167 million of their fellow citizens.
So when you see a number like that, it's easy to see why this gets so heated, right? It can feel fundamentally unfair. But what if that's the wrong way to look at it? What if this incredible concentration of wealth isn't a bug, but a feature, a sign of a healthy, innovative economy? Let's really try to understand the case for having billionaires. So what's the actual argument here? Well, it kind of rests on a few key ideas. The first one is pretty basic. You have a right to keep what you earn from your own work and your own ideas. The second is that billionaires don't just appear out of nowhere. They're the result of creating something that millions of people choose to buy. That wealth then gets reinvested, fueling innovation and creating jobs. But the most surprising argument, and we'll dig into this, is this kind of wild idea that this level of inequality might actually help society cooperate better. And what's really funny is that one of the best examples of this argument comes from Senator Bernie Sanders, who is, a huge critic of billionaires. When he was asked about being a millionaire himself, he said, "I wrote a best-selling book. If you write a best-selling book, you can be a millionaire too." And proponents of billionaires would just say, exactly. That same logic applies, just on a much, much bigger scale. At the core of this is the idea of a voluntary exchange where everybody wins. Think about it. Millions of us use Amazon every day because we find it convenient. We get something we value, a package at our door, and in exchange, Jeff Bezos gets wealthier. The argument is that his wealth wasn't taken from us. It's a direct measure of the massive value he created for us. Both sides are better off. Okay, now for that weird idea I mentioned, that inequality can actually help cooperation. A study in the journal PLOS One ran these super complex simulations. On the left, you see a model where everyone stays pretty equal. That big red area, that's all the situations where cooperation just falls apart and everyone acts selfishly. But now look at the right. In this model, they let wealth build up. They allowed inequality to happen. And wow, look at that. The red zone of collapse almost disappears. Cooperation becomes the stable, winning strategy.
So how in the world does that work? The fancy term for it is endogenous heterogeneity, which is really just a complicated way of saying the rich get richer. In the simulation, when the people who chose to cooperate it did well, they got rewarded with more resources. This let them build powerful networks that were strong enough to fend off the cheaters in the system. It's a really counterintuitive conclusion that maybe, just maybe, some level of inequality is the secret sauce that allows a cooperative society to flourish.
Okay, so that's a pretty strong case, right? That billionaires are a natural, maybe even helpful result of a free society. But that's only one side of the coin. The other side paints a much, much darker picture. One where billionaires are not a sign of health, but a symptom of a deep sickness in the system. So now let's explore the case against them. The argument against billionaires really hits from a few different angles. First, there's the straightforward moral argument. Is it okay for one person to have that much when so many have so little? Then there's the exploitation argument. Was that wealth really created or was it taken from the value of underpaid workers? And then there's the big one, the democracy argument. Can our political system even work when a few people have enough money to bend the rules? And finally, there's the philosophical question. Does anyone truly deserve that much, considering how much luck and public systems, like roads and the internet, played a part? At its core, the simplest argument is about basic morality. As Emily Everest puts it, the immorality of such inequalities is stark. I mean, it forces you to look at two realities side by side. A few thousand people control trillions of dollars, while millions of people around the world live in extreme poverty. The critics just ask a simple, powerful question. How can we justify both of these things existing at the same time?
And it's not just about abstract morality. Critics point to very real costs that everyone else has to pay. It's not just the money they have, it's the money they don't contribute. For instance, in the UK, it's estimated that tax avoidance and legal loopholes used by the super rich cost the public about £115 billion in 1 year. That's not just a number. That's money for hospitals, schools, infrastructure, all gone.
And this brings us to what might be the most dangerous part, power. Researchers even have a name for it, politically connected wealth inequality. Basically, it's a way of asking, how did this person get so rich? Did they invent something amazing that everyone wanted? Or did they get rich because their political buddies gave them special deals and no-bid contracts? The first one is market innovation. The second one, critics say, is basically corruption. And it's absolutely toxic for democracy.
And this isn't just a theory. The data is just wow. Look at this table. In countries where most of the billionaire wealth is tied to politics, more than 75%, the country ranks, on average, 126th on the corruption index. That is not good. Now look at countries with zero politically connected billionaires, places like Canada or Sweden. They rank around 6th, among the least corrupt on Earth. The link is pretty hard to deny. When huge wealth and political power get tangled up, democracy pays the price.
So we have these two really powerful opposing arguments. And that naturally leads to the question, okay, so what do we do? The two big ideas that always come up are 1, just tax them more, and 2, encourage them to give it all away. But as we're about to see, both of those simple solutions are actually incredibly complicated. You always hear, just tax them, but it's way harder than it sounds. First off, a billionaire's money isn't just cash in a bank. It's tied up in assets, stocks, buildings, companies. You can't really tax that until it's sold. Second, even when they do sell an asset, the tax rate on that profit is way lower than the income tax rate a surgeon or lawyer pays on their salary. And finally, let's be real. They can afford the best accountants in the world to find every single loophole, making it a constant game of cat and mouse with the tax system. Well, if taxing is a mess, what about charity? What could be wrong with billionaires giving their money away? Well, when you look under the hood, the system is not quite what you'd think. This chart is pretty stunning. It shows that in 2022, 41% of charitable donations from the wealthy didn't actually go to a charity doing work on the ground. It didn't go to a food bank or a homeless shelter. It went into these intermediary accounts. And a lot of those are called donor-advised funds, or DAFs. They're like a magic trick for the rich. A billionaire can put $1 billion in a DAF and immediately get a massive tax deduction that year, saving them millions. But here's the crazy part. There is no law that says when or if that money ever has to be given to an actual charity. It can just sit there in an investment account, growing tax-free forever. And here's the part that gets me. We, the taxpayers, are paying for a big chunk of this. Because of all the tax deductions involved, for every single dollar a billionaire puts into their DAF or foundation, the rest of us effectively lose 74 cents in tax revenue that the government would have otherwise collected. We are all subsidizing a system that lets billions be parked on the sidelines. This whole situation is what investigative journalist Tim Schwab calls the Bill Gates problem. And his point isn't that people like Bill Gates are bad. His point is that their massive foundations operate with the power of a government. They shape global health, they influence farming, but they have zero democratic accountability. There are no elections, no public oversight. As Schwab says, it's not enough to have good intentions. You have to have accountability too. And that's exactly what's missing.
Okay, so after all that, the mind-bending numbers, the arguments for, the arguments against, the flawed fixes, we finally get to the very heart of it all. When we strip everything else away, what are we really debating when we ask if billionaires should exist? At the end of the day, it all comes down to two totally different ways of seeing the world. On one side, you see the billionaire as an engine of innovation. They're the ultimate success story, proof that the system works and rewards people who create amazing things. But on the other side, you see the billionaire as a symptom of a broken system. They're the proof that the system is rigged, allowing wealth to be siphoned away from workers and communities in a way that hurts everyone else. Which of those you believe really decides where you stand on the entire issue?
And that leaves us with one final big question to think about. This isn't just about money, it's about what kind of world we want to live in. Is the dream to build a society where everyone gets a fair shot at becoming a billionaire themselves? Or is the dream to build a society that's so fair, so supportive, with such great public services for everyone, that the very idea of needing $1 billion to be secure just seems ridiculous? Thanks for your time for watching the whole video. Comment down your opinions about it and also share your experiences happen in your life. Also, comment down what topic I should talk about next. Subscribe to my channel for more videos like that and click the notification bell icon to get notified when I upload my next video. Have a good day. Bye.